And yes, most of us have experienced feeling lost, especially probably since beginning mid-March to when this pandemic and all the lockdowns started all over the country. Now, when you feel like you have no idea what you are doing or where you are heading, we have a guest who might just be able to help us out. Now, our guest today has experienced the same feeling, and that's why he's written a book called One Good Thing a Day. Online with us now, through the magic of technology, we have Sir Renzo Villalon. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Kyle.
Did I pronounce that right, your name?
How are you?
Renzo?
Yes.
Okay.
Renzo, yes.
Okay, so, of course, I gotta ask, how are you dealing with the lockdown so far, wherever you may be located in the city?
I think like everybody else, we're doing the best that we can with what we're given. And we're just trying to be thankful for everything that we have. So it's pretty much a lot of focusing on the good side and keeping positive so that we can move forward.
All right, so I want to say happy belated birthday. I know you celebrated your birthday early this month, but beside what's keeping you busy during the pandemic, beyond the usual of, let's say, scrolling through social media and binging on Netflix, you're also launching your book today.
Yes, I am.
Well, the name of your, what's the title of your book is One Good Thing a Day?
Mm-hmm, that's correct.
The same as your Facebook page. Is that the origin story of you being a writer? And if you could just give us more information about that.
Well, I've been writing for as long as I can remember. It was always a fascination with telling stories and with reading stories. At a very early age, my mom gave me books instead of television. So, yun yung ginagawa ko. I'd read books in my spare time, etc., etc. And then it just continued. And one day in 2017, I noticed that there was a lot of bad news around. And sabi ko, well, I can either join in the bad news, or maybe I can write something good and maybe post it up. Maybe that'll sort of balance it out. And that's where One Good Thing a Day started. It's a daily challenge to find the sunshine, kumbaga, or the flower on the side of the road, and focus on that.
Have you heard of Humans of New York?
Oh, I love them.
Yes.
I love that series.
I went through your page, and there were some similarities, because I've seen some of your posts. You take pictures, and then you have a write-up about it. So I thought that was, okay, so Renzo could be like a sort of Humans of New York, and it was along the same line. So from 2017 to 2020, has your purpose and your goal been the same? How has it expanded over these past 3 years, especially now with this worldwide pandemic?
Well, it's always been the same. The point of everything with One Good Thing a Day is, so I'll segue a little. I'm a motorcycle rider, and part of the theory with riding a motorcycle is that wherever you look, that's where you go. So if you're looking at something negative, that's where you're going to go. If it's an obstacle on the road, if it's a cliffside, nakatingin ako sa bangin, mahuhulog ako sa bangin. Ganun lang kasimple. So cross-training that into everyday life, as long as you're focused on the positive, on where you want to go, basta doon ho kayo nakatingin, doon ho kayo pupunta. And that mission hasn't changed ever since 2017. It's a conscious exercise to look at yung positive. You can get news from anywhere, but the way you receive it, the way you react to it, nasa tao yan. And that discipline was always what I was going for.
So did you start off on, I imagine you started writing off in a private journal, and then you chose Facebook as your primary platform to start sharing your work?
Yes, that's true. It really was a personal exercise, and I shared it initially with friends, and they were very supportive. You know how it is, naman.
Apo.
And then after that, well, I just I just was thankful that people seemed to be getting something out of the stories.
Mhm.
It was very uplifting. It was very um, it made me happy to see that these stories were more than just what I was making cuento.
Uh-huh.
It's flattery, honestly. Thank you very much for mentioning me in the same breath as Humans of New York. Um, I'm a bit more personal, pero parang it's been a blessing to be able to touch more people than I expected.
That's right, because I started visiting your Facebook page and I said, this reminds me a little bit of Humans of New York. So I know you started off with primarily text. Do you think you'll be moving on to maybe taking more pictures? The reason why I bring that up, so you have a post here from December 19, 2017, is one of the ones, it stood out to me personally because I think you were, in your post, you were talking about sitting at a Starbucks and watching people just formally line up, like, as we do, respectfully, politely, waiting for their bus to come. And the line that stood out to
Mm-mm.
me was the one about bowing our heads as if praying to our phones. During this pandemic, since we're spending a lot more time now with our devices, how would you suggest, because we balance that time between always staying stuck with our necks craned over our phones and, looking out the window and appreciating sunlight.
Yeah, the pandemic's changed very radically how we interact with each other. And what I noticed on that day while I was watching people line up, this was a Starbucks in Ayala, and it was the one where people line up for the P2P. There's a P2P bus stop close by. And what I noticed was they may have been looking at their phones, but they weren't alone on that phone. Parang a lot of them were talking to whoever was waiting for them at home and saying, I'm on my way home, etc., etc. Other people were chatting with their friends. So perhaps it's a good thing that we have our mobile devices, that we have our technology, because we're able to be in touch with the people that we can't physically be in touch with.
I remember a line you saying that you started, not necessarily started, but your work came up during a time of massive disinformation. And now that's still going on 3 years later, and it seems like the internet, whether it's especially Facebook and Twitter, if it's on fire, that's a good thing. Being on fire, meaning people are arguing and screaming over each other. But you have this special corner of the internet that you call your own, and you've found a big following. So, of course, during this pandemic, how are you going to transition into that? You're going to keep doing what you're doing?
You're absolutely right. I like to say that when we started in 2017, it was the disinformation age. We were done with the information age. It seemed to be turning into a disinformation age. And honestly, anybody can get news from a whole list of credible sources, or even just a whole list of sources. Anybody can get their news anywhere. Anybody can be able to air their views with people either like-minded or opposite-minded. They can have dialogues, they can have debates. And I think that area of the internet is very well represented. I'm happy to be where I am, focused on focused on those on finding humanity in the human race. Everyone's so busy trying to move forward, move forward, move forward, and that's a good thing. I'm happy to stop and take a look and maybe appreciate how we got here and why we're moving forward in the first place.
Very recently, maybe just yesterday in the United States, a lot of the big tech CEOs, Amazon, Facebook, Apple, Google, had a congressional hearing. And via Zoom, like how we're communicating right now. And I'm leading to this, talking about disinformation, because there's a clip going viral on Twitter, and I'm sure on Facebook too, where everyone's very formally dressed, and then you have Mark Zuckerberg in the middle, and he's in his backyard barbecuing a brisket. and obviously it's fake, but I myself was like, wait a minute, is this real? Like, I had to think about it. It's fake because it's a congressional hearing, but we see Mark Zuckerberg, but it looked very real. So in the age of disinformation, and you being where you are now these past 3 years, personally, how do you manage your information consumption, figuring out, okay, is this real, is this not real? Maybe something for our viewers to, when they're scrolling through social media, they said, okay, Sir Renzo said this, and this is not real.
First, I have to come out with a caveat. Thank you for asking me. I'm not an expert, and I think that might be the most important thing in finding out where your information, in sort of vetting the information. So since I'm not the expert, I need to find actual experts to be able to give me an idea of what is out there. So I have a set of news outlets, for example, that I will listen to, and then if one of them says something, but then the other one says something else, then maybe I'll try and find out why it's different. It's a lot of work, honestly. It's a lot of work to stay informed in this age.
That's great advice, though.
It's really up to the...
It's great advice. You're not an
Thank you.
expert, so if my mom messages me about this brand new cure about COVID, right, I should probably dig deeper. So una po, realize that, or at least try to figure out if this person that we're scrolling through on social media is an expert. Kung hindi, and then
Yes.
let's dig deeper. Ask more questions. All right,
Absolutely.
thanks. Anything for our viewers? How do we get in touch with you? Where do we find you? I know your book is on Amazon and on Gumroad. How else can we, continue supporting you and your work?
Please join the community on facebook.com/1, the number 1, and then good thing a day. That's where I post up all the new stuff. And then if anybody has a great story to tell, it doesn't have to be a human story, something that shows the human side of everything. You're very welcome to share it.
All right, so there you go. Facebook.com/1, the number 1, good thing a day. And that's where we can find Sir Renzo's work. Sir Renzo, thank you very much and have a good morning. And I hope I can talk to you again very soon.
Thank you, Kyle. It's been a pleasure.
All right.